everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Strong Tower Podcast. Today it's just me again. So, we'll see what we can do. And, I've been thinking a lot. So this past weekend we had, I trained an MMA fighter, Rebecca the Draft Evans, who will also be on the podcast next week. So she had a fight this past weekend, and she did very well. She beat the shit out of the girl. But for some reason, I found myself kind of disappointed, but not in her though, in myself, because I don't know, I think I saw things that I should have worked on with her. And I'm sitting there and I'm realizing this, and I'm like, oh shit, like that's me, that's on me, And I think more of it was the fact that she was getting tired pretty early. She's very powerful, and we work on power a lot. And yeah, she does her endurance stuff, and we do endurance things, but I think we need to work a little bit more on it. But that's just me. I mean, that's just how I felt, because during the fight, she would go towards the girl and just boom, 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 and then you could tell her starting to slow down. And I'm just like, God, But every single time, she came out with power, though. It's not like she was just doing that in the first round. She did it all 3 rounds. And then ended up winning unanimous decision. Even though that girl she was fighting just wouldn't go down. She really should have won with a knockout. But that girl was just taking hit after hit after hit and just eating them. So, props to her. She stuck it out. But, Becca's relentless, when it comes to that stuff. And I'm sure she had in the back of her mind that, the girl didn't show up for face-off. And I'm sure she had in the back of her mind, like, that you didn't show up for face-off, I want to beat the shit out of you. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, going to me, watching the fight, yeah, I mean, I was just kind of disappointed in myself. But then I started thinking on the drive home, like, am I too hard on myself? And because I know that's an issue with me, I think a lot of people deal with something like that. It's like you do something and you expect yourself to to be at a certain point. You may do what the other person expected and you may do it fine. But to you hold a higher standard to yourself that makes you disappointed if you don't reach it, or very satisfied when you do reach it. And for me, I'm myself's worst critic. No one can tell me something that I haven't said to myself over like 1,000 times. So that's a big reason why, like, what people think of me, I don't give a fuck. Because to me, I just don't care. I don't care enough what other people have to think about me. So as long as I'm doing what I feel like I should be doing and trust my instincts and do what I need to do to progress with whatever I'm trying to build or do for myself, it's all that matters. I do a lot of things by myself. I rarely have help doing anything. Putting anything together, doing any types of video, doing pictures, whatever. I see people out in the business world and they're getting like popular and stuff, and yeah, because they have a little bit more time, because they're also not doing the videoing or the editing or the coming up with the ideas. They're just kind of going with the flow and just doing what has to get done. But with me, I have to do what has to get done, but then also do all the behind the scenes shit. And when it comes to that, I'm kind of not a perfectionist. For me, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to satisfy me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know. Say if I'm editing a video or something like that, and I'll take days to figure out what really, and then sometimes even when I finish it, I'll watch it with people, and people are like, oh, it's so good, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, eh. I was like, I don't know. It just didn't meet my gratification, It just didn't. It didn't. I don't know. It's hard because I know what I feel, but it's hard to put it into words. And I'm sure a lot of you understand what I'm saying, because you probably go through it too. You're a lot harder on yourself, and it's okay to be like that, I think. But I also think you have to be able to step back and appreciate what you have done, rather than fully critique yourself and be mad or be upset that something didn't go what you hoped it would. I think hope is the big issue here. I think, like with Becca's fight, I hoped she would knock her out. Not for me, but I know that would help Becca's career a lot more. I think knocking her out in the first round, because this girl was only 1-0. She's not that experienced, and I think for Becca, who is more experienced, I think if she would have knocked her out in the first round, I think it would have opened people's eyes to a lot more of her skill. And I think that's what I was hoping for. But I also have to remember it's not a race, for her to become a professional. Because also, I put in a lot of time thinking about what we're going to train and how we're going to do it and what it's going to do. And, I see a lot of that. I see her. She was probably not the leanest, but the most muscular I've ever seen her. So she definitely had the look, and she has the power, but it's just about adding that endurance, because if she was against someone that was more experienced, and especially with MMA fighters, for some reason, they're not big into like weightlifting and stuff like that. And maybe that's it. I think it kind of holds you back from some things in their perspective, but in my perspective, it doesn't. I study a lot and I watch a lot of MMA fights, and I study it and I see where lifting weights, like doing deadlifts or doing squats, can help them. There's nothing really that you can do to supplement those things. No type of wrestling, no type of jiu-jitsu. Sometimes you will have to outpower the person or out-strengthen the person. That technique. What if you both had the same skill set? It's going to come down to who's stronger, who's more powerful. Who can hold their grip tighter? Who can punch harder? And it's my job to make sure that I have all those things covered. It's her other coaches' stuff that they can worry about on their own, but I worry about what I need to do. Because I also try to get better as a coach too, like I'm trying to figure out what's going to give her the edge and what's going to put her above others. So I try and think, what are other people not doing? You know? So, but yeah, that whole thing, it just had me being hard on myself. I don't know if it was being too hard or I should step back a little bit, but I had a long drive home. I think it was like 3 hour drive back home to Delaware from Virginia. And had a long time to think about why I felt that way. So, I mean, I'm always going to be hard on myself. But I think with some things, they're just out of my control. As long as I did my job and I feel like I did do my job. And it's just something else we got to work on. That's all it is. The work never stops. You know, you're never going to have that perfect fight. You're never going to have nothing's going to be perfect. You know, there's always something to work on, and that's what makes us better as people. What makes you a better athlete, what makes you a better fighter, all this other things. And we just got to keep working. And that's what my conclusion came down to was, you know, I just had to learn. I was learning. That was my biggest thing, you know. I was learning from what we've done. So I said, okay, let's work on this next time for the next one. You know? So keep her power, but then also increase her ability to use that power. Increase the length of time that she can be able to use that power. Because I also think she could have paced herself a little bit better. But she just thought the same thing as me. She was thinking knockout. And she saw that. She knocked her down once, and she saw the opening, and she just kept going for it. She saw the girl wasn't really protecting herself, didn't really keep her hands up too much. And she was going after her every single time. But doing that too, she was also releasing so much energy and using so much power that it was just like making her tired, you know. So luckily the other girl didn't know enough maybe like ground game or anything to like try and take her down and just really like wear her out on the ground. So she was worn out standing up, you know. But yeah, so that was Saturday night. It was a great fight. She won by unanimous decision. And, you know, I'm sure you guys, everyone listening, y'all will hear more about it when she's on the podcast. You'll hear what was going through her mind and stuff like that. So it'll be a good talk. But yesterday, it was... Yeah, today's October 2nd, so yesterday was October 1st, and was my dog Ziva's Gotcha Day. So Gotcha Day is the day that we got her. You know, she has her birthday, and then she has the day that we adopted her. And we saved her. I think she was like in some like, her and her litter were found in a trash bin or something in Georgia, and then they were shipped to an adoption agency in Delaware. So I found her online, and I told my wife, I was like, hey, let's go look at these dogs, blah, blah, blah. Knowing for sure in the back of my mind that, you know, if we liked it enough, we're going to get it right there and then, you know. So we did that. So we went to this adoption people, which was kind of weird because it was out of a house. But I guess the adoption people were somewhere different, and they brought the dogs to the house, and then we bought the dogs from those people. Yeah, I don't know. But so she ended up having the parvovirus. So parvovirus is very deadly to puppies. And we had her for about 2 or 3 days. And I can remember it clear as day because I bought her this bone that had like peanut butter in it. And then she got sick after. And I thought it was me. I was devastated because I thought it's something that I bought her and I gave her that's making her like this. She was not eating. Her stomach was huge. And I bought a baby bottle to like squeeze like water into her mouth. And every time she drank water, she would just throw it up. So we took her to 2 different vets. We took her to an emergency vet at first, and then we took her to, which they tested for parvo. It came back negative. Then we took her to another vet. They said, oh, come back in 2 weeks. So you came back negative, blah, blah, blah. I was like, something's just not right, So then, she was just getting worse. I think it went like 5 days, maybe 4. No, not that long. I think it was like 4 or 5 days, probably. That she was still sick. She was getting worse. She wasn't eating. And I can hold her in like the palm of my hand, I think she was like 4 or 5 pounds. And I look back at pictures and I do see how big her stomach was. But at first, this is my first dog I've had by myself. I've had dogs with my family and stuff, but I was so young, like I wasn't taking care of the dog like that, The dog was always attached to my dad's hip, and my dad and my mom always took care of the dog. But growing up, like I never took care of one on my own, so I had no idea what I was looking for. I didn't know her stomach was big, and turns out it was filled with worms. So we took her to a third vet, and it was an emergency vet, and right away they said we need to take her in now. And I was like, oh shit. So we did that. I remember standing outside because they made us stand outside because they're like, we don't know if she's contagious, blah blah blah, because she has parvo, she can be contagious. So I'm sitting there, I'm holding her in my on my chest. Meanwhile, she's like shitting down my shirt, like all liquid and stuff like that. And me and my wife are just devastated, just upset, just sad. And, we tried to have this happy moment of buying our first dog together after we moved into the house and everything. And then it turns out like that. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. People say, oh, it's just a pet, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not, man. It's so different with a dog. A dog is like having a kid. The dog, tell me this is not a kid, wakes me up in the middle of the night, barks all the fucking time. Barks when she's hungry, barks when she wants me to play, barks blah, blah, blah. I was waking up 2-3 times a night. There was times where I woke up at 3 or 4 in the morning to go to the gym to train someone. And I came to check on Ziva, and she had shit all up in her crate. She was covered in it. And I felt so awful. I felt like an awful parent. So I canceled my client. I was like, my dog just is so sick. So, I had to do that multiple times. Yeah, it may not be the same as a kid, but it's pretty damn close. You know what I mean? I don't care if you think I'm wrong. I don't give a fuck. But to me, this girl is the world to us. You know what I mean? So, anyway, and I think going through that in the beginning just made it that much more special. The fact that we shoveled out thousands and thousands of dollars that we didn't have to save this dog's life. After we've known her for 2 or 3 days. That's how much she meant to us. I would have done it. I would do it again. I would do it over and over again. I have no regrets of doing that. And so we took her to this emergency vet. And she they said we need to take her in right away. So they took her in and they hospitalized her for like a week. So every night they would call and give us updates, and we were like, me and my wife were just like crossing our fingers and praying that it was something good. They had good news, you know. And because they had to feed her through a tube, they had to give her like different medications and all this kind of stuff, and just get rid of everything that's in there, you know. And you know, after that week, we finally got to bring her home, and she was fine. Everything was good. She was eating. She was, you know, she gained weight like that. Like, she got it back so quick. And come to find out, they told us, like, if you would have waited another day, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did. And that blew me away, you know. I couldn't have had that happen. I think that would have been hard for us, you know. And I don't know what happened to the other dogs in the litter, but I'm sure some of them probably died, you know, because we weren't told about the whole parvo thing when we adopted her, and we tried calling back the adoption agency and no one answered. You know, we weren't calling to complain, we were calling to warn whoever had bought a dog that day or from that litter, you know, to understand what they have, you know. So yeah, and it's been 3 years since we've gotten her, and she's crazy as anything, you know. You can tell she's getting older and getting lazier, and that's partly on me because I'm the one that takes her out and stuff, and I get real busy during the week. So it's hard for me to like go to the park and stuff like that, and plus I hate people, so I don't like small talk in the park, you know. And then having a dog, the dog's going to go up to the other dog, which makes me have to talk to the person, and it's just irritating. That's why I go like 5 or 6 in the morning when the sun first starts to come up, and then we got the whole park to ourselves, you know. And then I'll probably run into like an old person or something on the way out, and that's whatever. You know, if it's on the way out, I'm fine. You know, I'm not really, you know, I think Ziva kind of takes my personality too, because there's dogs where she'll let them know she don't like them. You know, she seems vicious at first, and but she just wants the dog to stay away from her. That's all she wants, you know. But I've been yelled at and stuff because they think my dog's going to attack. I'm like, I'm telling you, she's not going to. She's not going to attack your dog. But, you know, I don't blame the other person. Because they don't know my dog, so they have no idea. But every single year when this time comes around, and like it's her birthday, it's her gotcha day, you know, I always just like think back to those beginning moments. And I think it's just having this dog, man, like she's something special. She's different, you know, so much different than just having a dog. I don't know. I mean, it's the fact that it's me and my wife's first dog together, and right after we got a house, and you know, and then the whole parvo thing happened, and you know, I mean, but I believe it all happened for a reason. I really do. And you know, she takes care of my wife. Like my wife was trying to teach her to, like if my wife had a seizure on the floor or something and her head was banging against the floor, she was seeing, because she saw a video on that, I guess, so she was going to see what Ziva would do. It took Ziva a little while, but you know what she did was she slid under my wife's head without being trained or anything in that. We just wanted to see what she would do, and that's what she did. I was like, what the hell? You know, she did exactly what that dog did in the video. Yeah, it took her a little bit, to understand what's going on, because she gets distracted by me and stuff, because like we're really close, because I trained her. I did everything with her. I disciplined her. When we first got her, she couldn't walk outside. She wouldn't go walk down the sidewalk. I had to teach her how. Placing a treat after treat after treat for her to walk and come get it. And every single day we gradually went farther. And, so it's been cool, like, having raised something like that. And, I don't train her to be a circus dog, so she's not going to roll over. She's not going to put her paw on your hand when you ask for it. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to do that dumb shit. I need her to protect my house, and I need her to protect my wife and do what I say. I don't need her to fucking walk a tightrope or some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So I hate when people come over my house. Oh, paw? No, motherfucker. She don't give you... No. She's not a fucking clown. This ain't the circus, man. She don't need your fucking paw. Like, I don't know. It may seem, like, petty, but it's just the way I feel. I don't know. You could teach your dog whatever you want. For me, that's just how I feel about my own dog. Not about yours. But yeah, so that was yesterday. And she got all the treats, and... we went for walks and different things like that yesterday. But so I don't know if any of you watched the podcast with Mike and Alex, but towards the end of it, like, we were talking about different, like, serial killers and stuff like that, and I brought up the show Mindhunter, which I've never seen before. But then I just now started watching it because Mike said it was really good. So I was like, okay, he's really into that stuff. So if he thinks it's really good, like, I gotta check it out, So I got into it, and now I'm just like balls deep. I'm balls deep into it. Like, I can't miss. I mean, the first season I binged because, like, I was off work and I wasn't really doing anything that day, so I binged the whole first season. And then, so the second season I'm still on. I just finished episode 5 last night. And, dude, this show, I love this show. I love real life stuff. I love... Yeah, the show itself's not real life, but it's based solely on true events. There's some people that are made up in it, but it's just to make the show, But the main character is based off another guy. And he did all that stuff. He interviewed Ed Kempner, the co-ed killer. He interviewed Charles Manson. All that stuff to get into the minds of those guys. To see why. To see what makes them do the things they did. And the big thing with Charles Manson is that he didn't really kill anyone. But he's the most infamous, like, serial killer. But he didn't kill one person. Which is weird. But, I mean, I have my own thoughts on that. And I'm not trying to stick up for Charles Manson. Or I'm not trying to defend him. Because he is a sick dude, man. Like, but I understand those people were probably on drugs and stuff, But but as a person, how do you let someone run your life the way they did? I don't care how charming he was. I don't care what he did, what he said to you to make you do the things you did. Like, why? You have your own free will. You can make your own decisions. You know what I mean? So those women and that guy, that killed people, they're all blaming Manson. I'm like, yeah, he's part to blame, but mostly to blame is your fucking self. You're gonna let someone control your life like that? That makes no sense to me. I can never follow someone to that. I don't follow people in the first place. I take advice and an insight from people, but I'm not gonna fucking go to and follow you to the ends of the earth. No matter what you do, I'm gonna help you do it, or I'm gonna do what you say, blah blah blah. I don't do that shit. So how, as a person, can you allow yourself to do that? That's always what I was wondering. Like I've heard interviews from the women and from the guy, but I don't know. I don't know. It just blows my mind. I don't know why. Like, and it can't just be drugs. There's something more to it. I guess it's people that were just looking for something, and they saw Charles as like a father figure or something, that they just want to do the best they can for that. I wouldn't even do that shit for my dad. Are you kidding me? My own dad, if he asked me to do something like that, or do something in general, I usually never even did it. So, I don't know. But yeah, the show itself, it changed the way that they find people now. Like, now you can't really get away with too much. Because eventually I think they're going to find you. Just because of like all that stuff they've learned from those cases and interviewing those people and what goes through their minds. What's going through your head when you're thinking that way, And what's funny is a lot of them have in common, they all turn themselves in pretty much. Because guess what? Other than that, they wouldn't have been caught. But as a serial killer, you're so invested into yourself, and you want that attention, that it's just like Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy escaped. But guess what? He came back. He came back, and then they arrested him. He could have been gone. But yeah, he ended up coming back. The first time he escaped prison, he ended up coming back. He just couldn't be out of people's minds. He wanted people to think about him all the time and see him on TV and hear about his name and stuff like that. I think that's what most serial killers are like. But it's a very interesting show, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to go to sleep after watching it. But, it's really interesting. It's interesting to see the mind work. Because you never know what's going through someone's mind and why it does that. Why are they thinking the way they do? Like, I'm trying to think about, like, something that I thought about. And I'm like, ooh, why did I think that? You ever think about something and then you're just like, what the fuck? What was I thinking? Like, why was I thinking about that? Like with me, it had nothing to do with violence. I never thought about that. I don't know. The only thing I can think about is like but it's not like really like that. But I think about like when I was playing sports, I would think about and I'll try and visualize myself out there doing what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like if I was playing soccer, I visualize myself, hey, making this move and then doing that. When I get the ball here, what am I gonna do? That kind of thing. But then during the game, I end up not doing it, so it's just pointless. But it's nothing like that. But I don't know. But I'm sure, like with me, I guess I have this drive. I have this drive to be something. Just because I feel like no one ever really thought I would be anything. Growing up, I felt worthless. I felt like no one gave a fuck what I did or like what I was doing or whatever. I felt like people tried to kind of make things up in their minds to make them proud of me or whatever. But I knew they weren't. You know, I knew they weren't really proud of me, or I know they care about me and stuff, but I just wasn't doing anything to make anyone proud of me. And I think growing up, I think I really want that. You know, of course you get your grandparents and your parents, you know, they always say, oh yeah, we're proud of you, blah, blah, blah. But again, that's my mentality, like, I'm hard on myself. So I'm like, no, you're fucking not, you know? Because I'm not proud of myself yet. I'm proud of my work ethic and my drive and the willingness to be consistent and keep moving forward and progressing. But other than that, like, I'm really not proud of myself yet. You know, I have a goal in my mind that one day, if I achieve it, or when I achieve it, I will be proud of myself. Because I started from nothing. And I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to build something from the ground up. You know? I don't want to live a simple life working a 9 to 5. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I want. It's not. Honestly, I can't stand working for people because they're idiots. You know, everyone in authority thinks they're the shit, and it's fucking annoying. I can't stand it. And you're probably listening right now like, yeah, man, I know what you mean. Yeah, because it's every single job. There's rarely a job where the authority like helps you. And they don't understand that when you're in authority, you have more responsibility. There's a reason you get paid more. Because you have to have more responsibility. But guess what? I believe when you're in authority, you should also help the people under you. You know, because that's how you gain respect. You know, you don't gain respect by being a fucking asshole and a dickhead. You know what I mean? Like, in every job I've had, pretty much, I've had something like that. You know? They're not usually like that towards me. Because they don't want to get in my face. But I've seen them act that way towards other people. And it's just annoying. I'm like, why don't you help people out, man? If you want to be a supervisor, you want to be a manager or whatever, like, take the initiative and act like it. You know? Especially if you're an owner. An owner, you're the highest person up, man. That's your thing. So it's up to you, not just to fucking own the place, but to know who's working for you and to build something within your company or your store or whatever and build your employees up, man. Do something for them. Try and make them better. Just because you're the owner of the store doesn't mean shit. It's what you do with it that means everything. You can't rely on, and you can't complain why it's not doing well when you're not doing anything for it. You just own it. You're just the money. I don't know. For me, that's just annoying. I hate working for people. I've always wanted to be my own boss and do things my way. You know? But also, if I had an employee and I'm seeing like, maybe they have an idea here. You know, they come to me with something, or like, I'm always going to keep an open mind. And that's one of my biggest things. Like, keeping an open mind is very important in all of life. You know why? Because it keeps you grounded. You don't get too stuck into one thing, and you're not going to be fighting everyone that comes at you with a different idea. You know, you see this a lot with politics. You see it with religion, all this other shit. You know, people don't have an open mind. They can't sit there, and I can't tell someone what I believe because they're going to get mad. Okay, why are you getting mad then? Just because I don't believe what you believe? That's dumb. That's not how the world works. You know, we're all here from different places, from different walks of life, different experiences. You know, we've all been through our own shit. And when you hear someone else's, you can't get mad at it. You can't judge it. You know, you got to keep an open mind and try and understand it. Ask them why. Ask them how they felt during that shit. You know, I'm a man who has... It's kind of, for someone that doesn't understand, it's kind of complicated. But I have a very strong faith. I have a very strong relationship with Jesus Christ. And for me, yeah, it's the Christian belief. But the reason I don't like calling myself a Christian is because of the way Christians act. You know, they're very closed-minded. And I hate to put them in a group, but that's the majority. You know what I mean? And they take the Bible too literally, and they see a verse and they hold on to it like fucking white on rice. You know what I mean? They see a verse in the Bible and they just like grasp onto it, and then everything that's said, what about this verse? Blah blah blah. God says this. I'm like, does he though? What's the context? Just because the words are there, he's more complicated than that. You know? But I've had conversations. I just had one the other day with someone who, I forget what she said she was. I don't know. But we had different beliefs. You know? I've talked to plenty of people with that have different beliefs than me, you know? And I fully try and understand it because it also comes from their experience. You know, why do you... That's one of the questions I asked is like, what brought you to believing that, you know? And I told her that with me. Like, yeah, I grew up in Christian school my whole life. You know, I did all that stuff. But there was a point in my life where I was tired of it being shoved down my throat. I was sick of it. And I tried to get past that. And I tried to, like, you know... and at that point, I didn't really have anything. I didn't believe in nothing. You know? For me, I was just living my life. I didn't have faith in anything, you know? But, you know, life went on. I still lived, I still did things, and I was still working and all that kind of stuff. But then somewhere on the line, I was just feeling this emptiness. And this was just like a couple years ago. I felt this emptiness. I felt this, I don't know, just like this want for something. And I could not figure out what it was. I couldn't figure out what it was. And then, I can't remember the day or the time or like how it happened or why it happened, but for some reason, like I went back to God, because for me, that's what I needed. And I knew I needed it after just the first couple of days. I felt better. I wasn't angry anymore. I felt all the burdens I had on me taken off me. I felt stress-free. I felt more loving. I felt happier. Yeah, my face might not tell it, but I'm really happy. I'm happy with what I have. I appreciate everything I have. But yeah, that's what just brought me to that. And ever since then, like I've had this strong relationship with Christ, and it means everything to me. But if someone's not like that, it doesn't matter. It's okay. You don't have to believe what I believe. You do have different experiences. I'm not going to force nothing down your throat. The only way I tell you anything is if you ask me. I'm not that kind of person that just like walks up to your door, hey, did you hear about God? I'm not going to say that. What's Jesus done for you lately? I'm not going to do that shit. But if you ask me about my relationship with Christ, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what he's done for me. And it's up to you if you want to do that or not, But, yeah, that's part of just having an open mind. And that was just an example. And I can argue a lot better with people because I have an open mind.